Hello, Virtua friends, it's Silent Signs from I Dream of Indie, and today we are taking a look at Caligula Effect 2. Now, before I go any further into what this RPG is all about, I do want to just give the disclaimer that I never played Caligula Effect, so if I'm missing something plot-wise, please feel free to fill me in the comments below. It's not intentional, I just never got my hands on the original, and I was presented with the opportunity to play the sequel, and I figured I'll represent those folks that might not have played the original. So with that little bit of perspective in mind, let's go into what Caligula Effect 2 is all about. You play as an unnamed protagonist. Well, I mean, you can give your protagonist a name, but the game doesn't give one for you. And this character awakens to realize that this world that they've been living in is not reality. In fact, it's a completely made up virtual world that the virtuadoll Regret has created called Redo. The world of Redo seems great in theory. It's an opportunity for you to live the life that you might have always wanted to live in reality, but you couldn't because of physical, mental, or other limitations. But of course, everything you know being a lie is kind of a tough pill to swallow, so your protagonist is going to need a little bit of help in their quest to return back to reality. And that's where the Go Home Club comes in handy. Of course, you are not the only one trapped in this reality. There are others just like you, and if you can convince them to see the truth, then they can help you on your quest to escape Redo and Regret's reign. But of course, it's not going to be a nice, easy task. You're going to have some very ominous figures standing in your way, so it's time to brush up those fighting skills and get to work because this is an RPG after all. Caligula Effect 2 uses a combat system referred to as the imaginary chain. This will act as your crystal ball and help you look into the future so you can plan moves and attacks strategically. Using your catharsis effect, attacks will consume SP, so you'll need to keep an eye on that as well as your hit points in order to be successful in battle. You also have support actions and you can consume items. And if you need a little more help in battle, you have the help of your very own virtuadoll as well. She is probably as cute as she is mean, and she's on a mission to help the Go Home Club make it home. You can select from a variety of different songs to equip Chi or X with. Apologies for the pronunciation, but in essence, the different songs have different support abilities and will enhance your character's actions. And if that's not enough, you have stigmas, which you can equip to the Go Home Club members to enhance their abilities as well. I do have to say there's a lot going on in Caligula Effect 2. There's a lot of different systems to kind of keep track of, and items and inventory and currencies. And just to mention a little bit more, I can't get into everything, but there is a causality link that you'll have to kind of mind as well. This is a social link system where you can interact with the other citizens of Redo. It's almost something similar to what you would expect from the later Persona games. You can accept requests from these individuals, which will build your link with them. And I think this is the point in the game where things became a little bit confusing for me. Part of that is probably going to be because I did not play the first game. I didn't have that kind of initiation into the series. Perhaps this is familiar to some of you who did play the original, but for me, it felt like a lot thrown at me at once. But if you are looking to save yourself some trouble and still participate in this adventure, you have a couple options, including an auto battle system, which will assist you in battle. Pretty self-explanatory, really. And you also have difficulty levels to choose from. I started playing the game on normal, realized about midway through that I was in a little bit over my head. I don't think I got in enough grinding and leveling up, so I dropped it down to easy and I found that much more manageable. Visually, Caligula Effect 2 plays heavily into that anime aesthetic, which is typically something that I love. I did play this on the Switch, so the game certainly suffers from the limits of the Switch's hardware. You'll walk up to NPCs that you can't interact with, and they'll just pop in and out of frame. You're certainly not going to get 60 frames per second here. In fact, sometimes you're not even getting 30. This isn't typically something that bothers me or disrupts my gameplay experience, but it is a little bit noticeable here. It's certainly not the worst performing Switch game that I've encountered, but it's not the best either. I will tell you that a lot of the environments feel a bit samey as well. I feel like I was in a train station for a good 6 hours at least. And there is also a heavy use of glitch effect, which is kind of fine once in a while, but it does get a little bit overused the further you play into this game. That could just be me though. I'm really getting tired of the whole glitch effect thing. I get it, okay? We're in a virtual world. I mean, heck, even the enemies themselves are glitching out. It's too much. Too much. But I finally get to talk about the best part of this game, which is the soundtrack. It is so good. It's so good, which I guess makes sense. You're playing off this idea that there are these musicians that are creating these tracks to brainwash these individuals. And man, it works. I was brainwashed. All of the songs are super upbeat and poppy, and they really do get stuck in your head. There's this really neat effect of when you go into battle, you get the lyrical versions of the songs versus when you're outside of battle, you have the instrumental versions. It flows together so seamlessly. It sounds incredible. By far my favorite part of this game by a long shot. There also is voice acting. It is in Japanese, so there's no option to change the dubbed in language, but you do get subtitles, of course, so you can understand, or at least try to understand what's happening here. Now, I certainly do not speak Japanese, but I did find the voice acting to be convincing enough, at least from my perspective. I really enjoyed the performances. I do think that you'll get far more enjoyment out of Caligula Effect 2 if you already played and enjoyed the original and you're familiar with the battle system. Jumping into this headfirst probably wasn't my smartest move, and I will fully admit that, and I do feel like that detracted from my overall enjoyment of this product. Of course, that's probably to be expected and partially on me, but I did want to see if it works as a standalone title. I would say you can certainly get through it, you can even be effective at it, but it does feel like you've walked in halfway through a movie and you're not always entirely positive what's going on. The battle system is certainly unique, and it is telling kind of a cool story. It just got a little bit repetitive for me with the battles and the enemies, and it didn't always perform the best either. So ultimately, it made me feel like it was an inside joke that I wasn't in on, or that I wasn't a member of the Go Home Club, and maybe that's okay. I might just go out and buy the soundtrack and call it a day.
僕の番だな。 So will you have any regrets? Let me know in the comments down below. Before I go, I just want to thank our indie warriors Mitchell Hall, Bunny Kevelo, Bill T, Christian Cruz, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, C Coil, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Julian Kolbus, JRS8, Raylan, and Marky Mint. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, don't forget you can subscribe down below so you don't miss any reviews or previews, and check out the description box if you'd like to see how to become an indie warrior yourself. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.